Hi-yo! Welcome back to Sports Frenzy 2.0, kids. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
Along with the maestro, Kevin Crane.
And here we are, June 8th as we record. This will hit the 9th of June 2022 as always. And I have to forewarn you, I have an angry elf to my left tonight. He's mad as hell and he's not going to take it anymore. He's fired up, he's pissed, and he's going to let you know why.
We always mark our episodes explicit. This week we will earn that ranking, that rating, that mark of shame, the scarlet letter.
The debauchery.
Because they've pushed me too far. All these sports have pushed me too far this week. Each and every one, with the possible exception of hockey, has pissed me off in some way. Some are tied together. Some are separate issues. So throughout this episode, I will be screaming and yelling.
It's an early Festivus for you kids, because he's got grievances with everybody.
That is true.
All right.
Like Frank Costanza, I do have to air my grievances.
All right. Baseball, as always this time of year, is our leadoff.
White Sox aren't playing too bad right now.
They are, dare I say, possibly turning the corner. The offense is not generating a lot of runs yet, but they are hitting the hell out of the ball. And they're starting to show some signs of life, finally. We'll see. Took 2 out of 3 from the Rays over the weekend. Just shut the Dodgers out 4-0, which was huge. Michael Kopech, his last starts have been freaking phenomenal, where he's shutting everybody down. It's a beautiful thing to watch. So still sitting a game under 500 right now, but only 4 back of the Twins. So still in striking distance, waiting to get everybody healthy, and for La Russa to pull his head out of his ass and actually get some semblance of a regular starting lineup out there that can find some consistency in what they're doing. God, this lineup shuffle is pissing me off.
I'll stick by my guns, and I'll tell you they're going to win the division. They will win the division. They will. All they need is a 2 or 3 week run to get by the Twins, and I'm telling you, the Twins aren't that good.
They aren't, and
I'm not ripping on Rocco Baldelli, and we'll get to managers here in a few minutes because I got a little rant on that, but the Twins just don't have the pitching. They have no pitching. Compared to the White Sox, they don't have the pitching.
And the Twins have actually had the easiest run to this point. And the White Sox have had the most difficult run. From here on out, projections look like the White Sox have the easiest go the rest of the way. So we'll see if they can actually make ground and then distance themselves from everybody else in the Central. But they got to start scoring some runs. They are almost they're like minus 56 in run difference. It's pathetic.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. But like you said,
absolutely
they're only
pathetic.
1 game under 500. So for that run differential, that's a pretty good record.
Yeah, and a lot of that is frickin' Keuchel,
who's just signed with the Diamondbacks.
Yep, a minor league deal.
That shows you how desperate Arizona is.
Yeah. So, frightening.
Yeah, the Cubs are the Cubs. They suck.
They are what we thought they'd be.
Yep, 23-33. As we tape, 4th place, 9.5 games behind the struggling Milwaukee Brewers. But this team just is not built to win. I will say this locally. This is a little bit of a Dave and Kev moment here. So everybody out there nationally or internationally, bear with me for a second. Dave knows I have had so much trouble sleeping. I've been listening to late night sports radio for the last year. So I listen to these guys at 2, 3 in the morning out of New York, and then out of Chicago. Of course, they had a changeover recently because the longtime late night guy
Yep.
passed away.
God rest
Les
his soul.
Grobstein.
The Grobber.
Now they got a new kid I listened to last night. And for about an hour, he kept me engaged. He was running the show well. He was talking about the Cubs, and he was voicing all of my concerns.
God,
He was saying, this team...
I can't think of his name right now.
He's got a long Polish last name. I will say that. I know that.
Yeah, I can't.
But
he's good. He's good.
Now, he fell into the trap that I don't like that they do sometimes on the late night out of Chicago on the Score, is that they start to play clips from earlier in the day and say, oh, well, these guys interviewed this player, so let's go back and revisit that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I want original content.
They're trying to, the people on the third shift, getting off second shift who may have missed things, they're trying to get them the information.
I know, and I know the rules with radio is that 20 minutes is your turnover. You don't expect anybody to listen to your show more than 20 minutes. So after a 20-minute span,
which you would think in the bigger
repeat.
cities with the traffic delays and everything, you would expect at least an hour to an hour and a half turnover during the day.
Right. But this kid brought up my concerns perfectly, which is, again, Ricketts does not care about this team. He does not care about fielding a contender. All he cares about is making money in other ways off of the Cubs.
Right. Yeah, it's
so kudos to him for bringing that up, because that's exactly how I feel, and I'm scared to death. The other issue that he brought up, which again is something that I am worried about, is Wilson Contreras again proving to be one of the best catchers / DHs now in baseball. If they trade him, I will lose a gasket. I will blow a vein in my temple. I will end up losing the left side of my body, because there is no reason monetarily or otherwise to get rid of the kid. He's still young enough. He's still got 6, 7, 8 good years left, especially now that he doesn't have to catch every day, that he can DH.
Yeah, see, that's the problem in Chicago, is nobody else thinks that he's any good. Nobody in the Cubs organization. A lot of fans who call in are about him. The real fans who actually know the game and can see the play know what value he actually brings. There's a knock that some of the former pitchers didn't like throwing to him.
But again, your problem is solved. You can find the 1 or 2 pitchers who do tolerate him, and then the other times you DH him. Problem solved.
There you go.
The new rules this year alleviate all those concerns.
Yeah, a lot of it is done there. I don't get it. I think he's your best option, but there you go.
Of course, the front office probably looks at it like dangling meat in front of a bunch of other hungry dogs, just like they did last year with Rizzo and Bryant and Baez.
Right.
Now, for the most part, that turned out fine. I still wish they had kept Rizzo or brought Rizzo back. Baez, fine. Bryant, fine. Yeah. How are you liking Chris Bryant, Colorado? How are you liking him, Denver? Back issues already. Serious back issues.
Gee, you shelled out how much for him, and how much did he want from the Cubs?
The Cubs offered him, I believe, $200 million.
And he wanted to hold out for over $3.
He and Boris turned it down, and he got $170, I believe, roughly, from the Rockies.
Yeah. Because of his dwindling production.
And I'm sorry, it proves to me, and we'll get to golf later, everybody has a price. As the great Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, said, everybody has a price.
Everybody has a price.
Doesn't matter if you're a winner, or you're going to be a winner, or you're joining a winning team. Obviously, Bryant wanted the best contract he could get in this offseason.
Yep.
That was the best he could get.
He obviously didn't care about winning. He chased the money.
Yep. Speaking of chasing money, Dave and I, in preparation for this podcast episode, we'll get to the NFL, and we're still trying to figure out how the LA Rams are under the salary cap. But at least this makes sense. The Los Angeles Dodgers have been nailed for having a $310 million payroll. So they are going to get hit with a record $47 million tax penalty.
As they should. That's ridiculous. There's no way in hell they should have been allowed to go that high. Forget this luxury tax crap. You need to put in a hard cap and a hard floor. You have to if you want competitive balance. We've talked about it till we were blue in the face.
Ad nauseum, we've talked about the fact that
every sport needs to have a hard cap and a hard floor.
Yeah, the Orioles are playing okay. But look at the Tigers. Look at how bad the Royals are. How bad the Cincinnati Reds are. The Nationals.
It's pathetic.
Sorry, money equates to winning. That's just the way it is in sports now.
Yep.
And the only way you're going to make your sport viable is like the NFL. You encourage teams to spend as much as they can
and don't guarantee contracts.
Yeah, let's ask Cleveland about that. We'll talk about them later.
Yeah,
the Cleveland Browns.
The mistake by the lake is living up to their name, it looks like.
2 huge firings this week when it comes to managers. 2 huge firings.
The big one out in Los Angeles with the Anaheim Angels, Joe Maddon. After 12-game losing streak, it's now 13 games, but they got tired of his dog and pony show out there. Not a lot was going right. I mean, they had a groove where everything was all hunky-dory. They were living large, and then the wheels fell off the train, and he has not been able to correct it.
No, and I think this got to be it for him. This is such an epic failure. I'm sorry. I owe Joe Maddon a lot because he got the Cubs
you could see
World Series championship.
You could see chinks in his leadership and managerial skills through that World Series run.
And the Angels are a snake-bit franchise, too. And it's not just Joe Maddon.
No.
It's been 20 years since they won that one title with Mike Scioscia. 20 years, and they have had Mike Trout for, a decade now almost?
Yeah, and he just went down with a tight groin.
After an 0-for-26 streak that helped sink not only the team, but Joe Maddon.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, like you said, injuries rear their ugly heads for him. You got Shohei Ohtani. And then Anthony Rendon is basically turning into their version of Jason Hayward.
He has completely disappeared. Getting the big money and saying, whatever. Notice the yawn in there. It's the disinterest of the player.
But now that collapse by the Los Angeles Angels has now opened the door. So now, right now, as we tape, 4 teams from the American League East would be in the playoffs if the season ended today. The Boston Red Sox have got themselves on a nice little run. They have now jumped up into that last wild card slot in the expanded playoff picture.
It's crazy.
Boy. Now, hopefully,
people have to start stepping it up.
They're going to have to start beating up on each other eventually, aren't they? The Red Sox and the Rays and the Yankees and the Blue Jays.
They have not been playing head-to-head. So that's all coming. There will be a reckoning in the East here as you get later into the summer.
Yeah, usually the last month of the season. It's always
heavily
divisional battles. Yep. Max Scherzer Not only is he on the shelf because, a strained oblique?
Yeah.
Was it?
But now
he gets bit by his dog.
His dog, as they're playing, bites him on the pitching hand.
No, I think it was non-pitching hand.
I thought it was the pitching hand.
But either way, they say it's not a big deal. He's fine. Obviously, he's on the shelf for a while. So
it was a slow news day when they reported that one, kids.
Rex bites Max.
Yeah.
Now we got to talk about the Tampa Bay Rays. And this is where Kev starts getting angry. First off, this part doesn't make me angry, but it brings politics into the picture for the first time, and then the second time will get me really riled up. Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, obviously one of the front runners to run for president in 2024, vetoed $35 million in public funds for a new Rays training facility. And of course, everybody's up in arms. Everybody's mad. I look at it.
Why are they putting the money in a training facility when they need a new goddamn stadium?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
If you're going to put $35 million of public money to the Rays, it better damn well be for a new stadium. Get out of that damn Tropicana Dome piece of crap garbage.
This is why he and I have been together for so long. My brother from another mother. He reads my mind. I read his. Sometimes it causes me to shudder, but that's okay. Because I completely agree with him. How about you figure out the regular stadium situation first before whining and pissing and moaning and crying about Ron DeSantis saying, I'm not flushing $35 million down the toilet.
For a training facility?
What?
Hell no.
Because if they end up going to Montreal, they'll still train in Tampa?
Whoop-de-frickin-do.
If anything, I count this as yet another smart decision by DeSantis. Now we got to go on to this bullshit festival of pride that we call June. And I am so fucking tired of pride this, rainbow this. Now we've got 5 Tampa Bay Rays players who do not want to wear the pride logo.
They shouldn't have to.
Last time I checked, this was fucking America. You don't have to do something if you don't want to. And I'm sorry, I don't care if they are members of the Rays and the Rays say, we're going to do this. They have the right to say, I signed on to play baseball for you.
I respectfully declined to participate
I
in this
signed
sham.
on to play baseball for you. I don't agree with this. They're saying religious reasons.
That's fine.
That's good. Stand up for yourself. And that's the theme I'm going to be hammering down on everybody in this episode. Don't apologize. You stand up for what you believe in. And these 5 players should. And here's the thing. I was going to save this for the dumbasses, but I can't. Sarah Spain on ESPN can go to fucking hell. She called them out and out bigots because they would not wear the patch. No. Who the hell is Sarah Spain to use that kind of language, that kind of rhetoric, calling people names like that?
Because they don't want to wear a rainbow patch. That's insane.
She should be fired. Fired from ESPN for calling them bigots. Fired. And it's always the people who use that term who are. They're the Nazis. They're the fascists. They're the ones who say, you follow our way of living, our way, you do what we tell you to do, or we're going to rip you apart, tear you to shreds, destroy your life in the media. Fire her. Fire her ass for this.
Agreed.
They should sue her for slander. These 5 players should sue her ass for slander.
And ESPN for allowing her to make those comments and not doing anything about it.
That's just the tip of the goddamn iceberg, kids. Wait till we get further on into the episode. But that's it for baseball.
No, we're not going to talk about Hector Neris getting a 4-game suspension and Dusty suspended for 1 when Neris intentionally threw behind the head of Eugenio Suarez.
That stuff happens every week, though.
I'm tired of this old school baseball bullshit.
The Mets are getting hit every day.
Stop this whole BS retaliation crap. Old school, unwritten rules. It's bullshit. Get it out of the game. We've grown. It needs to go away.
Oh, I agree with that completely. But I'm just saying, I kind of glossed over that because it's happening every 3 or 4 days.
I just wanted to rant and rail that these assholes need to get out of baseball. It needs to end.
Well, and that's another point I wanted to bring up when it came to, we talked about Joe Maddon. We forgot Joe Girardi got fired too.
Oh, yeah.
By the Phillies. And I wanted to ask you.
That's a no-win situation.
Well, is it the old school mentality? I mean, because you look at Girardi and Maddon and then Dusty Baker, you're looking at almost 3 different types of managers, even though they've all been around for quite a while. Girardi is probably the most old school of the 3. Joe Maddon, namby-pamby, flaky, weird.
He's
California
freaking hippie.
And Dusty has always been kind of a player's manager. Dusty survives. Maddon fails to a point.
To a point.
Girardi seems to fail the worst of the 3.
Wherever
he goes. Is it because he's the more old school of the trio?
Does he not get the buy-in from the players? Does he not relate to the players? I don't know.
And the thing is, he's the youngest of the 3. He's the youngest of the 3 if you compare ages with him and Maddon and Dusty.
Yeah, and Maddon never played the game. Dusty had.
Girardi,
of course. And I would say Girardi was the most successful as a player.
That'd be close. Dusty had a good career. But again, if you look at the pattern of managers that we've had over the last 20, 25 years, catchers, which Girardi was, always seem to gravitate to becoming better managers than other position players do.
Right, because they have...
Sosha, we talked about him earlier.
They have to not only manage the pitchers, they also have to make sure where the other position players are. They have to know, all right, if I call this pitch, this hitter's going to hit it to this guy generally, so I got to make sure what I'm going to call in what situation. They study the game a hell of a lot more than anybody else.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Then why isn't David Ross doing jack shit with the Cubs?
Well, there are the exceptions.
Yeah, and poor Mike Matheny stuck with the that train wreck in Kansas City.
God.
I can't fault him for that. I think he's a decent manager.
But they're just misrun.
They don't have anybody outside of Salvador Perez.
No, they do not.
They have to bring in Zach Greinke
and
on his
Walker.
Last leg, to be their ace.
God.
All right, let's move over to the NBA.
Yep.
Because we got limited time left here. I want to give NASCAR a little bit more time in the second segment along with the NFL. Dave and I are getting a little tired of the huge gaps between games in the finals.
It's ridiculous.
3 days except for tonight's game 3 going to game 4 on Friday.
Ooh.
2 days.
2 days.
And then it goes back to 3 days off between every game.
That's stupid. People do not want to wait that damn long between games. They lose interest. Bring back the days of you play a game, you have a day off, you play a game. All right, that's the first. You have a travel day, a day off, then you're playing. A day off, you play. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I
get it over with.
I think we're starting to see the chinks in the armor. No, chinks is not a racial slur, so shut up. Game 1, even though that was actually probably one of the better games of the entire playoffs, where Boston came back, had an unbelievable fourth quarter,
Yep.
to steal home court away from the Golden State Warriors. Lowest rated game one in 15 years. There's a reason for it, is because you have destroyed your brand by pampering the players, letting people like Kyrie Irving and James Harden run roughshod over the GMs, the owners, the teams, the
expanding
fans.
the playoffs.
Yeah, well, that goes back years to when they did that.
But still, there's no reason half the freaking league should make the playoffs.
No, because the game does not lend itself to a 1-8 upset very often. We see it once every 15
rare.
to 20 years. We see an 8 beat a 1 or a 7 beat a 2.
Doesn't happen often enough to make it worthwhile.
It's a waste of time, and I can't believe people actually buy tickets to go see those games. What do you expect to happen? Is Jesus Christ going to come down from the rafters? You're not seeing NBA history in any way, shape, or form in any of these first-round playoff games.
No, you're not. You're better off trying to get into the NCAA tourney first rounds.
You have a better chance of seeing something historic.
Yeah.
Than you do in the NBA playoffs. No, I agree with you. If it wasn't for the fact that the first round of the playoffs is a blatant money grab, that's all it is. Just they're basically picking the pockets of anybody walking through the turnstiles at all these arenas. It should be 8 teams. The NBA, in its purest form, for pure competition, should only be 8 teams make it.
Yep, absolutely.
Then maybe these assholes would try harder during the regular season. Maybe they're not going to take
freaking games off.
And we have to, what can we do to make it more competitive? Should we put a tournament in the middle of the season and give them extra money? No! They're already getting paid unbelievable sums of money, and then they take every other night off.
Make them play the fucking game. Cut the playoffs in half. Go back to what it should be, and fans might actually start showing up and caring again.
Anyway, 1-1.
1-1.
Golden State came back and whomped the Celtics in game 2, 107-88. So tonight is game 3 in Boston. And why is a game in Boston starting at 9 o'clock Eastern time?
Because you have to cater to the Warrior fans.
Jesus Christ. Well, Quinn Snyder might actually be the smartest one around.
Yep.
He's had enough. He's stepping down as a Jazz head coach.
Good for him. I think he's tired of the bullshit.
And he was one of those few guys, kind of like, I would say he even did better than Billy Donovan, where he actually came from college, had a long run with the Jazz.
Yeah.
Successful, made the playoffs almost every year, but he knew, I'm not getting over that hump.
Yeah. You know, with the resources available here, this is as far as this team's ever going to get for the foreseeable future.
Donovan Mitchell, the star for the Jazz, could be leaving.
Yeah. So what's the incentive to stick around?
Yep.
It's not worth the headache.
No, he will get a job somewhere when he wants.
That's the thing. He wants.
He doesn't have to go into desperation mode. He can be a commentator for a year.
Yep.
He's young enough. He'll come back. He'll pick and choose, get the job he wants. But like we said, 1-1 in the finals. I still think this is going to be a really good finals. Game 1 was fantastic. Game 2, not so much. We'll see what happens tonight. No, the Warriors
came out and said, watch this.
Yeah.
We're not done.
So I'm thinking we're seeing at least 6 or 7 games out of this. So maybe this finals with these are the 2 most worthy teams, will redeem this postseason a little bit. Not completely.
No, but a little bit.
All right, kids. More ranting and raving coming up. The NFL, NASCAR, golf. A lot of golf.
Little NHL.
Yep. So we will be right back. Hang out with us, won't you? Feeling mildly fatigued? Need a day off even if you just took one a few days ago? Make $30 million a year but just don't want to work for it? You need to join the NBA Load Management Club right now. When they're not napping or texting, guest lecturers Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving will describe foolproof ways to earn tens of thousands of dollars by not doing anything. Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, is currently negotiating with LeBron James to bring his popular How to Make the Hall of Fame Without Really Trying webinar live and in person to the Load Management Club. Thanks again to Sports Frenzy 2.0 and all you apathetic fans out there for making us a success. Hey everybody, welcome back. Sports Frenzy 2.0 here. June the 8th, 2022. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I am the conquistador, Dave Height.
And you'll notice we did not change the Sports Frenzy logo to include all the colors of the goddamn rainbow because we are not lemmings. We do what we want. We support everybody, every creed, color, religion, race, sexual orientation, but we don't jam it down your throat. No pun intended.
Wow.
You live your life, we'll live ours. Everybody equal. That's the problem with this society. The media, Hollywood, does not treat people equally.
No, they're creating a more divisive country than we've had in quite some time.
And we'll get to stories in the NFL and NASCAR about that. But first, let's ask, how the hell are the Rams doing it?
Where are they getting the freaking money under the salary cap?
Aaron Donald gets a restructured $95 million deal, now getting paid more than any non-quarterback in the league.
Crazy.
News just broke right before we started taping this podcast.
For once, it broke before we started instead of after.
Cooper Kupp, you could see this coming, got a 3-year, $80 million extension.
Good Lord.
And of course, Spot Track and Over the Cap do not have that information in yet because we had to look and see exactly how the Rams are pulling this off.
And what was it? Over the Cap? Their headline is, how are the Rams doing this?
Yeah. Basically, they are deferring everything.
Pushing it.
Especially when it comes to Stafford's contract. Kudos to them if they can legally pull it off under the rules of the NFL. I still don't believe it. When you look at the money they're shelling out for Stafford, Donald,
and Kupp,
Jalen Ramsey, Allen Robinson, Floyd.
There's a lot of money sitting out there.
Yep.
Crazy time.
We shall see if anything ever comes of this. I would hope Roger Goodell
might learn a lesson.
Might have 15, 20 people looking over this. Running the numbers to try to say, hey, the NFL is the best run of the major sports franchises when it comes to this. We talked about the Dodgers in segment 1 and how they're getting hammered for going over the luxury tax threshold in baseball. Davis said, hard cap. That's what football supposedly has. Somebody is going to have to explain to me how the Rams are able to stay under the cap number.
But can we honestly expect anything from the commissioner's office on this with the poor way that they have handled everything else of late, from the Washington Commanders to the Deshaun Watson shit?
And that's, of course, next up on the agenda is the latest in the ongoing,
it's getting
ridiculous, pathetic saga of Deshaun Watson.
Not only as a 24th woman with a very disturbing story entered the fray, but the new report that's come out that He has had 66 different female massage therapists within a 17-month time span.
That's
and
a
the
problem.
ones who have come forward have all said that he's begged for a sexual act of some sort from them.
Yes, and like you said, very graphic in a lot of cases. There's a problem here. There is a problem with this young man.
And some of these women coming out are not part of the suit and never filed a complaint that are finally telling their stories. This guy is a major problem.
Yes, and again, at some point, circumstantial evidence, it becomes so much.
Where there's smoke.
Yeah, there's fire. There are not that many coincidences. There can't be. There just can't be. And now the Texans today have been brought in as a defendant.
Yep.
So that will change things.
Yes, they gave him a membership to a particular club where he was able to meet some of the therapists to have a space for his massages. One of their security personnel provided him with a non-disclosure agreement to be able to give to the therapist that he tried to say, oh, this protects us both. No, bullshit. You were trying to protect yourself.
And then, of course,
Reeks.
The great and glorious attorney of our times, Rusty Hardin, tries to somehow justify what's been going on in one of the worst explanations of all times, which we'll now call forever and ever the happy endings explanation, where he says a happy ending is not a crime as long as it wasn't paid for.
Bullshit!
That's not the issue that we're talking about. We're talking about whether he tried to force himself and his little Watson
he did
on
things
these women
that they should not have been subjected to. No means no, Rusty, you piece of crap, old Southern bastard. You're part of the fucking problem.
Again, the Cleveland Browns.
And what the hell kind of, oh, we did our due diligence. We did our research into it. Bullshit.
The Cleveland Browns, this is going to end up destroying this franchise. I believe this completely and totally. Because there is no way Roger Goodell is going to be able to get away with anything less than, I think, a 2-year suspension. He is going to have to suspend Deshaun Watson for at least 2 years. Again, the evidence is mounting up.
The morality clause or whatever, personal conduct. This is extremely disturbing. There is such a pattern that has been established. This isn't a one-off, oh, I got drunk and got pissed. This is an established predatory pattern that has to be dealt with.
Yep. And if you have to sink the Cleveland Browns for being idiots, then you sink the Cleveland Browns for being idiots.
And if you have to take the Texans down for having given him the opportunity to do it to begin with, so be it.
Yep. Examples have to be made because this situation is not good for the league.
It's not good for anybody.
They have to make a show of force here and show, as much as we rail on the PC stuff, the cancel culture stuff, being lemmings, in this case, the hashtag #MeToo movement should be outraged.
Nobody
should be pushing Goodell for the maximum possible penalty for Deshaun Watson.
There's no excuse for this behavior from anybody. Any normal, rational, sane person.
And again, like Dave pointed out, 66 different women over the span of 17 months. Serial predator. All right, let's move on for a minute at least to some other NFL news before we get back into the muck and the mire.
The sale of the Broncos?
$4.6 $5 billion.
That's ridiculous.
Highest price tag ever for any professional franchise here in America.
Well, they are the highest above sea level.
Well, I was going to say,
yeah, and they're also the highest.
I thought you were going somewhere else, Cheech.
Hey, I was trying to bring some respectability.
Dude!
Sweet.
No, we're already too far down the rabbit hole this week. When you were saying highest, I thought you were going the other way.
No, I went sea level. I was going the good way. But yeah, they got to be high on something. The Walton Penner Group, led by Walmart heir Rob Walton, purchasing the Broncos. God, that's a shit ton of money.
Have you heard the John Elway story?
No.
I'm not taking credit for this, of course. Other sources gave me this information, a couple different sources. John Elway, when he was the figurehead for the Broncos in the late 90s, Pat Bowlen was the owner back then.
Right.
Pat Bowlen offered John Elway a 20% share of ownership. At the time, in the 90s, it would have cost John Elway $15 million.
And he turned it down.
He turned it down.
Oh!
Because of this sale, if he would have taken the 20%, he would have got close to $900 million in this sale.
Oh! Too many hits to the head, which shows in the way he's run the franchise.
We thought he just couldn't figure out who had the fucking right thing to be the quarterback of the Broncos.
No, he's
got other issues. He's got a lot of other issues when it comes to intelligence.
Wow.
Lots of retirements this week.
Yes, we've had a few.
Alex Mack, Stephon Tuitt, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
No more Fitz magic, kids. The beard is going bye-bye.
From coaching, Romeo Crennel. And then, of course, my man.
Thank God.
Yeah. And my man hopefully will be in the Hall of Fame. He's not just a compiler. He was a tough SOB. He was a tank. Frank Gore.
The ageless one finally hanging up the helmet. Officially. Yep. God, we're going to miss seeing Gore out on the field.
I'm telling you, I loved him.
Man
I loved him.
Was so damn productive for so long in every facet of the offense.
I know he didn't get the championships. He didn't get the flashy spotlight like a Jerome Bettis or a Terrell Davis.
But the guy was a workman.
Third all time in rushing yards.
He was a workman. He was the consummate professional, the ultimate teammate.
And this was a guy who blew his knee out at Miami. And people didn't know if he was going to be able to play, let alone for as long as he did.
Yeah.
Kudos to my man, Frank Gore. And it's going to be a long fucking season for the Chicago Bears. We've said it week after week.
God.
And now the latest evidence comes forth.
Eberflus is a moron.
The Bears somehow lose a day of practice in OTA because they violated on-field contact rules.
They did it once and were warned. They did it a second time and got penalized. This is not in pads, kids. By reports, they went a little too extreme with the receivers and the corners, with the hand fighting and the checking at the line. Not good. And it wasn't a disgruntled player. There was a representative from the Players Association on the sideline watching this. Eberflus, you moron. You should be the dumbass of the week for this.
I know, I considered it. There were so many people that could have been included in the dumbasses of the week. Dave, 3 wins. 3-14 is what I'm looking at.
God.
Who are they beating outside of maybe Houston? Because wasn't that one of the games we picked as the worst?
The worst of the worst, yes.
They'll beat up on Lovey.
Yeah.
And watch Lovey will figure out a way to beat him. Oh,
God help us.
Poetic
God
justice.
help us. Maybe you get a split with Detroit.
Maybe. They're not losing both. They're not beating Detroit both times.
No.
Detroit will at least win one, if not both of those games. Because Detroit, I like Campbell better as a head coach. But at least they've got some weapons for Goff.
But it's still Goff.
I know.
Goff is the new Wentz.
Boy, that's tough. That's tough. I don't think Goff has slid that far yet.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
He wasn't abysmal last year. He wasn't abysmal.
Wait for it.
All right.
Goff has done the downslide. Wait for it.
All right. Finally, the rant for the NFL this week. Anybody who knows me knows I love Jack Del Rio. I fucking love Jack Del Rio. And he disappointed me today. Initially, I was 100% with him. He is, again, an example of when I say, you stick by your guns, you stand by what you say, you do not apologize. If the words come out of your mouth,
own it. Right or wrong, if you believe it, own it.
Jack Del Rio tweeted, and I thought he was dead on, solid, perfect when he said, everybody's freaking about a January 6th, I'm paraphrasing here, he called it a dust-up.
It was a little more than a dust-up.
But he also included, why are we so focused on a situation where nothing got burned down, no individual businesses, no corporations, no companies were destroyed, but we don't talk about the 2020 riots like this. We don't have investigations into those.
More people were killed and injured in those riots than in the Capitol riot.
And of course, they badgered him in the span of hours. They hammered him. I'm sure the great and glorious leadership of the Commanders went after him and said, you got to apologize, Jack. And Jack unfortunately caved and apologized. And I say, outside of the fact that
you could have phrased it better.
But otherwise, he was dead on, perfect in what he said. And I will stand by what he said outside of dust up.
He's right. Where are the ramifications of everything that happened in Seattle, everything that happened in Portland, the shit that's still happening in Portland?
But that's, that's given a pass.
Oh, and God forbid we even talk about what's happening in Chicago.
You're being fooled, you're being deceived, and God damn it, Jack, you should never have apologized. You should never have apologized because you had it almost perfect.
Almost.
And again, I will bring this back up again.
Avoid the tweets. You can't, like anything else.
You're not going to win.
You're not going to win on the tweets, especially if you don't edit yourself 3 or 4 times to make sure you make your point intelligently and not say something stupid.
5-minute rule. Social media, 5-minute rule. You have to have that in effect.
I want a 5-hour rule for most things.
Well, I look at it this way. After 5 minutes, if you haven't changed your mind, go ahead and post it. Go ahead. Don't do it like in the spur of the moment, in the heat of the moment, when you're angry, when you're pissed off.
See, that's why
Give yourself 5 minutes to cool down.
That's why it took me 2 days, and I still sent a tweet railing against Tony La Russa's hiring last year. And that's the only tweet I've ever sent out.
All right. Now it's time to get mad about racing. Not quite yet, though. First, we got to talk about the inaugural. race at Worldwide Technology Raceway, otherwise known as Gateway, for the old school racing fans. Chase Briscoe had the pole. I said I really had a feeling about Joey Logano. He looked good in practice. He slipped up in qualifying. He ends up winning the race. Didn't shock me a bit. Again, I figured I'd go with the safer pick, Ross Chastain, who'd won with the trucks recently.
Yep. Got himself into a couple of little scuffles with Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin.
And I'm getting a little fucking sick of Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin.
What is going on at Gibbs? Do they have like classes about whining and how to whine and how to bitch and piss and moan to the camera all the time because they can't fucking win more than 1 or 2 races a year among them? Him and Kyle.
All they can do is bitch and complain because they don't know what the hell they're doing anymore. And I'm sick and tired of Happy Jack being a piss and moaner.
Chastain was aggressive, yes. He still, in my opinion, didn't do anything wrong. Yet I'm sitting there watching the race scared for him because anytime he gets near Chase Elliott or Denny Hamlin, you're thinking they're going to try to dump him.
Yeah, because they're a couple of pansies. Chase and Hamlin both can dish it out, but they can't take it.
Especially Hamlin. Hamlin is going to go down as the biggest loser in NASCAR history. He's never going to win a goddamn title. Never going to win a championship. He'll end up way up on the overall points or the wins ledger when it comes to all-time NASCAR wins for the Cup Series, but he will not win a championship. He doesn't have the heart. He doesn't have the balls. And I still don't know why NASCAR allows him to run for Gibbs, yet be an owner of another team. I still think that's a conflict of interest.
They've always had that.
I think it's a conflict of interest.
I can't say anything. My boy Dale Earnhardt, running for Childress, owned a couple of teams with DEI.
I still don't know how that's not a conflict of interest because when it comes down to it, they can affect the outcome if they're like already locked in. Like Hamlin's already locked in to the playoffs, right?
It's still a team thing.
What happens in race 26 if he has a chance to dump the field to let Bubba Wallace win for 23-11? What happens? You're gonna say Denny Hamlin's gonna all of a sudden his halo is going to shine.
No, it's not. If he deliberately does something like that, if he dumps the field, no, that cannot be accepted.
Or blocks, even if he blocks, that's not his team.
Only if he's blocking his position. He cannot block otherwise.
I still think it's a conflict of interest. Still don't like it. Chris Buescher, of course, a rarity nowadays, but Chris Buescher missed the race in St. Louis because of COVID, not because of the massive wreck he'd had the week before.
No.
So we're still hoping that
stupid COVID's rearing its ugly head again.
Yep.
It's running rampant through my place of employment right now.
At some point, kids, we're just going to have to treat it like the flu and get beyond it and get by it and get over it.
Suck it up, buttercups.
All right, our picks for race 16 coming up here Sunday, the 12th of June. Road course time.
Oh, let's break out a bottle of wine as we go to Napa Valley.
The Toyota Save Mart 350 from Sonoma.
Doesn't get more pretentious than this, kids.
Nope. I'm still shocked that NASCAR allows that California allows NASCAR to race.
Oh, I know, because of the emissions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I still think they're letting them through some kind of loophole that we don't know about.
God. Well, you have to have a semi of a certain year to be allowed to cross borders to be able to haul stuff.
That's part of the reason why we've got supply chain issues is because California won't let older trucks go to the ports because of the emissions, like you said.
Yep. And I will always fall back on, in grade school, they always talked about the big quake taking California into the ocean. We were promised it was going to happen. When?
All right. 6 of our 8 panelists have their picks in. It's a road course, so these picks are pretty predictable.
Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, Chase Elliott.
No Kyle Busch this week, not yet at least. We have 3 Martin Truex. That would be me, the Big Blue W, Bill, and the Big Easy Aaron go with Martin Truex Jr. Sam and you
Going with Chase Elliott. This you can't pick Chase or Truex or anybody at every road course. There's too many of them. You got to flip a coin.
We limit our contestants, our panelists, to 3 picks per driver per race in the first 26.
Yep, so you can max pick somebody 3 times.
So that's why you're going to have a couple road courses now with NASCAR's expanding of the road course schedule over the last few years. You're going to have to go with somebody other than Chase Elliott, like Dave said. Yep. You're going to have to throw Truex in there if you still got him. And Doug, the other pick that we've got in, is going with Kyle Larson.
Not a bad road racer.
Course pick. But it's a very tricky balancing
you got to figure
situation.
Yeah. There's a couple of other wild cards out there that have to be considered as well.
Oh yeah, yep. I've got one of those. Got one of those penciled in for the Indianapolis road course.
You bastard! We're probably simpatico on that one.
My ding-a-ling, my ding-a-ling at Indianapolis. It's my ding-a-ling. All right, time for me to go on a rant here for the last couple minutes of segment 2. Again, the anger, the frustration of the maestro. Mercedes has decided this month to change their F1 logo to the Rainbow Pride logo.
Come on!
I'm telling you, this is ridiculous. This is insidious. Everywhere you turn, everywhere you go. Dave and I talk about this. He mentioned it last segment. You are dividing us. You are not bringing us together. You sit here and you make every month something special for a certain group that checks a box for you. So this month it's Pride Month. What's next month? What's the month after that? What's the month after that? You denigrate the people you don't acknowledge by doing this. Have you ever thought of that? Has Jimmy Kimmel or Stephen Colbert or John Oliver, those idiots, ever thought of the fact you got all these school shooters, you've got all these kids committing crimes? Do you ever think of the fact that they look, and as you prop up all your little fringe groups, 5% here, 6% of the population here, 4% of the population here, you denigrate the majority by saying you're not special. You're not worthy of us turning any attention to you. So why don't you just go away while we honor the Pride Month, the BLM, the Asian Americans Month? You're dividing us. You're not honoring people and bringing us together. You're dividing us by showcasing certain small fringe groups, and they are fringe groups when you look at the percentage of the population that they make up. You think you're doing some kind of public service, and I mentioned this term in the past. This is virtue signaling is what this is. These corporations who are trying to say, hey, look at us. We love everybody. We're so good. We're so special. We're so smart and so nice. We're going to honor these people and honor these people because we're good and everybody else isn't. We're changing our logo.
Lemmings.
The Starbucks Lemmings. The Conquistador nailed it with the hammer on the head. Lemmings. You're all fucking lemmings. You better be outraged with this because this is propaganda. It is insidious propaganda. Enough with this crap. You want us all to be equal. I do too. You want us all to be the same. I do too. Everybody on a level, equal playing field. This is not the way to do it. This is propaganda from the left wing. Ted Turner created 24-hour media.
Goddamn Ted Turner to hell for destroying this country with 24-hour news cycle.
I'm sorry. Screw your goddamn pride logos. Screw your special month for this. Screw your special month for that. If we're all going to be equal, then let's all be treated equal and stop doing special months and special celebrations for everybody. Let's all be together in the fight. Let's all be together and show solidarity. Don't let the Nazis in the media turn us against each other, because that's what they love to do. And I'm not done yet. It's coming. More's coming.
God, we got another segment, kids.
Hurricane Maestro is going to hit again, make landfall again in segment 3. Stay tuned. Stuck in a no-win situation? Wife being held captive while your feet bleed? Take a second to decompress. Pull out your smartphone and listen to Sports Frenzy 2.0 on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, and Castbox. And don't forget to check out their Facebook page. The Maestro and the Conquistador will take your mind off your dire predicament and give you the best non-PC sports commentary you'll find anywhere. And once you compose your exit strategy and take down some German terrorists, you'll want to yell, "Yippee-ki-yay, Sports Frenzy 2.0!
Hello, friends. Welcome to the third segment of Sports Frenzy 2.0 here on June 8th as we record 2022, dropping on the 9th. This third segment will begin with golf, in case you couldn't tell.
Another peaceful, quiet segment of Sports Frenzy.
Yeah, right.
Can you hear the wind whistling through the fescue? The whippoorwills in the distance as Phil Mickelson steps up to the tee to take his shot after he got paid filthy, dirty Saudi Arabian money. No, I'm kidding.
A shit ton of Saudi blood money.
That's going to cause another rant later on here from the Maestro. But
Holy
golf is the big news this week.
The LIV, the
Right.
LIV, the Saudi-backed golf league. Damn, they're throwing some obscene amount of money out there.
Yep, they are starting to make a serious dent in the PGA Tour. Now, we knew Phil Mickelson was eventually going to join, and of course, tomorrow, when this hits, this podcast will hit the morning that they start the first LIV tournament outside of London.
Yep.
Now, LIV, I found this out today, is actually the Roman numeral, LIV. They're only going to be playing 54 holes.
Interesting.
So these tournaments...
So they're getting paid a hell of a lot more money to play less.
Yeah.
Shit, that's a no-brainer.
Well, that's what we're going to get into. Because we've got a lot of people, of course, Phil Mickelson has already been put through the ringer about this. Because he admitted, yeah, I'm taking the money from the people that killed Khashoggi.
It was a mistake on their end. Not the best turn of phrase.
But now you've got a cascade starting. You've got the ball rolling downhill.
We talked last week. Dustin Johnson joined on.
This is generational wealth even for these guys.
Yep.
That they're getting offered to jump to this LIV tour. Now, Dustin Johnson, Kevin Na, both resigned from the PGA Tour.
Flat out, fully. Wow.
Tiger Woods, of course, did not join the LIV Tour, but was reportedly offered
upwards of $1 billion.
High nine figures. Yes.
Oof. I'm surprised because how many tournaments did he play over there? always for the money grab.
He did. I agree with you completely. And that always is another thing that gets swept under the rug, is the fact that Tiger was taking this same quote-unquote blood money that now Phil Mickelson
and years
Dustin
and
Johnson.
years before this all came about.
Yeah, so let's not again whitewash, pun intended, the legacy of Tiger Woods. He ain't squeaky clean, kids. We call him out for every transgression on Sports Frenzy. Dave just pointed out another one we haven't brought up in a while. If you're going to condemn Phil Mickelson and condemn Dustin Johnson, and now you're going to have to condemn Bryson DeChambeau and Patrick Reed.
And now, reportedly, Ricky Fowler.
Yes, latest news is Ricky Fowler could be possibly jumping ship.
Joining. And you know, the PGA's back is kind of against the wall because they only have control against the weekly tour tournaments. All the majors are owned by individual groups who are still reportedly allowing any golfer, regardless, to be able to enter.
Yep. Absolutely 100% correct.
So the U.S. Open, the Masters,
the British, and the PGA Championship. Believe it or not, the PGA Championship is not affiliated with the PGA Tour. So like Dave said, he's 100% correct.
So the FedEx Cup is the one that they can keep these guys out of. It's the majors that matter. So if they can make their shit ton of money playing less golf in the LIV and still participate in the majors, why wouldn't you?
Yep. And now it'll be interesting to see. I had not heard that Patrick Reed, to this point, or Bryson DeChambeau or Ricky Fowler, they have not submitted resignations.
No.
So they might try to push this and see, what would happen if they don't resign from the PGA Tour.
The PGA has been all bark at this point, but they have yet to actually they've threatened to not allow these guys to play, but they have not put anything definitive out there.
No, they've been very strongly worded in their press releases and their memos.
They're a bunch of fucking snowflakes. If they were really this passionate, it would be out there. Boom. No, you sign up with us, you're done in any PGA sanctioned sponsored event. The majors, those are still open.
Now, Patrick Reed and Bryson DeChambeau will not participate in the first event in London. They are scheduling the first U.S. LIV event, which would be Portland.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Snowflake Central. I'll tell you what's going to be the turning point for this. And again, we blast the media all the time. We'll continue to blast them here on the weekend edition everywhere we can. These outlets who are condemning Phil Mickelson and all the other guys for joining this Saudi tour and their intolerance and all the terrible, nasty things they've done. Who is going to be the first broadcast network or cable company to cave and sign a deal with LIV? Because right now it's only being broadcast on YouTube and I believe Facebook. Who is going to be the first hypocrite sports channel or network to cave and sign a broadcast deal with It'll be interesting. Now, I want to bring up...
There's going to be obscene money thrown around. Everybody has a price. And I'm sorry, generational wealth thrown at you just for signing on to play
a game again.
To play a game.
It seems like we say that all the time.
To play a fucking game. and you play less. And you can provide not only for your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, your great-great-grandkids. That's damn hard to turn down.
Absolutely.
They're making more off of this than they would have playing in all the PGA events and their sponsorship deals.
Yep, and we talked about Dustin Johnson last week. He had to have known when the Royal Bank of Canada bailed on him, one of his sponsors.
Fine by me.
Again,
as we quote Ross Geller.
I want to call out a good sports journalist for once. Not a hack, not a nasty hack like Sarah Spain at ESPN, but a good sports journalist. I get my Yahoo.
Yes, there are good journalists out there. They're just few and far between.
And they get drowned out in the noise of the others. Jay Hart of Yahoo Sports.
He's good.
I get my morning Yahoo Sports newsletter Monday through Friday. He talked about this conundrum with the LIV and the condemnation of the players taking this money from a regime that does nasty things. I want to quote. This could be the quote of the year. This could be the most brilliant quote you will ever hear from a journalist, sports or otherwise. And this is a direct quote. I copied this down because I wanted to make sure I got this word for word perfectly. He's addressing, of course, again, the money, the tons and tons of money going to these players from a political regime that does nasty things. He says, I'm not comfortable with the idea that it's the media's job to tell you what to think about everything, as if I'm more righteous than you. How the hell is that not plastered on every cubicle at every website, newspaper, magazine, to keep the humility of these other reporters from getting out of control?
The responsibility of a journalist is to report the news, not create the news. If you want to spout your opinions, that's where you do an op-ed piece, not reported as news.
And I don't like op-eds.
Oh, op-eds are a bunch of bullshit to begin with.
That's the one thing for social media.
Everything has been
put it on your Twitter account.
Yes.
Put it on your Twitter account.
Keep it out of the fucking paper. Keep it off of TV. Journalism is reporting the news.
I've never liked the fact that newspapers would endorse candidates in an
election. That is absolute crap as well. Oh, and by the way, if you're so offended by these guys joining the LIV, then you should stop buying concert tickets, because the Saudis own a significant portion of Live Nation, which owns Ticketmaster. So anytime you buy a ticket to any event, you're feeding into the Saudi coffers. You hypocritical bastards. Think about it.
The man is brilliant. He reads my mind. He does. I'm just going to say this quote one more time.
We do our research. That's one that hits everybody. The Saudis own a shit ton of everything.
Yep. I'm going to read this one last time. You should put this on your refrigerator for your kids, for everybody in your household to
learn
see.
It, live it, know it.
I'm not comfortable with the idea that it's the media's job to tell you what to think about everything, as if I'm more righteous than you. Perfect. And he also brings up another term.
That goes for everybody.
Yep. We talked about virtue signaling, which I've been using lately, which I think is a phenomenal turn of phrase. These companies acting like, oh, look at us. We're so better than you. We're so wonderful in how we support this cause or that cause. Jay Hart was also talking about in this article selective outrage. Picking and choosing who you want to go both barrels after. And he said it's amazing when they go with the selective outrage, how they actually draw more attention to their target and give them more power. Because think about the coverage this Live Tour is getting because everybody's talking about it.
Yep.
Because of the controversy and all the media outlets freaking out about it.
Yep. And everybody's generating more and more interest in it. It's going to gain popularity because you're trying to vilify it.
Now, I don't even know if this qualifies as really golf talk. But this is one of those things that happened right after we finished taping last week. They had another edition of The Match.
God.
Where Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers beat Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen. I believe this is the first one where there were no professional golfers involved.
Yes, this is a first.
Now, the one cool thing about this, I didn't watch it. I just heard about the results the next morning. But the one cool thing was Josh Allen had golf balls custom made with Tom Brady's, I think, college combine picture on them. Skinny little dorky Tom Brady.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
I like that. That's taking it to the next level. I can appreciate that.
Yep.
And I'm sure Tom appreciated it too with all the trash talking he does.
Yep. Tennis, a little bit of tennis here, and we'll move on, and I'll let Dave get you into the hockey playoffs. The French Open is wrapped up and done. On the women's side, Iga Swiatek in the middle of a 35-match win streak. Very impressive. Wins her second Grand Slam.
Wow.
Also happens to be her second French Open. But then on the men's side is the historic stuff.
Oh, man.
Rafael Nadal wins his 22nd Grand Slam, his 14th French Open, both records, of course. And he becomes
impressive.
The oldest French Open champ at 36 years old. I am going to be interested to see if Djokovic can somehow catch him. Now he's 2 ahead. Nadal's 2 ahead of Djokovic.
2.
I think Federer's done.
Federer's done. Nadal is still plugging along. And Djokovic, as we talked about throughout the last year, has been totally screwed by tennis.
With this, the COVID situation.
Yep.
And then the no vaccination and missing out on majors and tournaments.
Yep, they fucked him royally.
What was it, the Aussie? He couldn't compete in the Aussie Open?
Yeah. There you go.
All right, Stanley Cup time, Dave.
Stanley Cup time. All right, before we get into that, the Montreal Canadiens have kind of gone out of their way to do a little bit of a historic hiring here. Holy cow, hold on. There, I lost my
Technology
link.
is killing the conquistador right now.
The Montreal Canadiens have hired... Good, just janked it on
This
me
is why I
again.
wrote down Jay Hart's quote. I could have waited and called it up in my email, and I said, nope, I better write it down because technology will fuck us.
Marie-Philip Poulin, one of the Canadian national women's team stars, has now been hired as a consultant with the Montreal Canadiens. Further bringing in the cross-section. So there
checking
you go.
Boxes.
Checking
Yay.
your box.
Yay, we're checking more boxes. Yay.
It's in the news. We have to report it. Now, conference finals. In the West, the Avs have swept the Oilers right out. Colorado Avalanche, it's their first final since 2001. And now it's the waiting game for the East, where the Rangers and Lightning are tied at 2-2.
They'll resume tomorrow night as we tape.
Yep. We thought the Lightning were going to just kind of roll over the Rangers, but the Rangers are giving them all they can handle. This has all the earmarkings of a 7-game series, and it's going to really tax whoever's going to go on to play the Avs.
Yeah, I think the thing that we overlooked, I mean, because, Lightning going for 3 in a row, we're just giving them credit as being the best hockey team probably the last decade, is that the Rangers, I believe, have only lost one home playoff game so far this year.
They have.
They held home court, home ice, first 2 games. Lightning win in Tampa the next 2. So now we'll see.
Now we'll see where
going
we
back
go.
to New York. Tampa's gonna have to win, obviously,
on
a game in New York.
Yeah, no, this is a hell of a series. So, will the Avs be rested and ready to go, or will the rust take over?
Because that's kind of what happened. A lot of people say with the first game here with the Rangers and the Lightning was that the Lightning had a long layoff coming in.
Yep.
And
we'll have to wait and see
in game 1.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting, kids. Good stuff coming down the line.
All right, time for our one moment of silence this week in the world of sports. And this one, again, happened right after we finished up last
Literally,
week.
We stopped recording, checked the news, and there's the headline.
Yep, Marion Barber, running back for the Dallas Cowboys and the Chicago Bears, passes away at the extremely young age of 38 years old.
Ugh.
Haven't heard a lot of details, but 38 years old is ridiculous. It's a shame.
Yeah, with not an accident involved, reported.
And of course, Bears fans, yeah, we have bad memories of Marion Barber, but come on.
You don't want to see somebody that young.
No. And he was, for a period of time, a really good running back.
Yeah, he had a good short run.
Yep, he did.
There were a couple of years where he was the man.
Yep, and with running backs, you're good for 2-3 years. That's probably about normal and average in the NFL.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Gone are the days.
Yeah, Emmitt Smith and
Walter Payton, Earl Campbell, Tony Dorsett.
Well, even Earl Campbell's career was pretty short. It was
pretty short.
Yeah.
Jerome Bettis had a pretty lengthy career.
Yeah, but now we're looking at
the
3,
ageless
4,
wonder.
5 years. The shelf life of an NFL running back. We're already seeing declines in Ezekiel Elliott,
Saquon Barkley.
Oh no, I heard today he's got his strut back,
Yeah, let's see it on the field, Barkley.
Yeah.
Let's see it on the field.
Yeah. I'll take Derrick Henry and you can have the field. Derrick Henry's the man.
He's an old school throwback.
He's a throwback.
Yes.
Yep. All right. I have dumbasses. Yes, in addition to all the other ranting and raving I still have dumbasses left. And of course, it's more PC bullshit for the most part.
See, you're going there, and I'm done with it. I'm not giving them their credit.
I'll go with the one non-PC dumbass.
All right.
Jim Cott. Jim Cott needs to retire out of the booth because it seems like every year this guy says something idiotic, stupid, politically incorrect.
He's getting
just
worse.
Because he has no filter. And we're all for ranting and raving and calling people out as dumbasses, but we do not maliciously or even inadvertently call people names. But Jim Cott seems to do this all the time, and I don't think there's malicious intent. I just think he's getting too damn old.
Yeah, that wraps it up.
He calls Nestor Cortez, the young Yankees pitcher who has been unbelievable this year. Could be a Cy Young candidate if he keeps going. Decides to call him during a broadcast Nestor the Molester.
Come on!
And I am not kidding you.
No!
Yes, Nestor
God,
the Molester.
Dude! That's inexcusable.
Can't do it. Can't do it. Jim, it's time.
That's fine if
to
you're
retire.
sitting out at the barbecue or at a bar amongst friends. But you don't
I don't even
do
know
it
if
on a
I'd go there.
broadcast.
I wouldn't say that about anybody. You say something like that about somebody, that's crossing a line.
Ugh.
There are very few things that I would say you can't call somebody, even in anger. A molester is not something you call somebody unless you're going to go vigilante on their ass because you know something that they did. Sorry, that's not a word that I would call anybody. Now we get on to the politically correct bullshit. I want to tie this into the Jack Del Rio story from earlier. We admit, just like Del Rio did, that maybe dust up was not the appropriate way to refer to what happened January 6th.
It was a little more than a dust up.
ESPN, again, the fucking assholes don't know how to report.
They missed the damn point.
No, here's the thing. When he was talking about the 2020 stuff, the Portland stuff, the Seattle stuff, and he called them riots, ESPN puts riots in quotes. But when they're talking about January the 6th and they say it's an insurrection, they don't put that in quotes at all. Like that's a statement of fact.
Everything that
biased reporting. They were riots. Don't put it in quotes. They were fucking riots.
All out burning down the city riots.
It's the subtle shit like this.
That's by definition.
The subtle shit like this that the media does that we need to call out because this is how they get you. They're demeaning and degrading when they say, well, he said riots. They weren't riots. They were quote unquote riots. He says they were riots. But the insurrection was a fact, right?
Potato, potato.
All right, locally.
Yeah, DC didn't burn down from the insurrection.
Locally, Dave might challenge me on this one. Notre Dame has changed the victory march. Now it is going to be not loyal sons marching on to victory. It's now loyal sons and daughters marching on to victory.
This is old news. This was changed back in the 80s. As a fact, it was changed in the 80s. For a couple of years, they had that, and then they got away from it. And now all of a sudden, they're bringing it back.
Because it's like an anniversary or something of
some whatever for it. But it's not new news. It was changed years ago.
I want to know, though, when they're going to change it to loyal sons and daughters and non-binary students and transgender applicants. I want to know when they're going to be all-inclusive. Be all-inclusive, Notre Dame. Just like everybody else. You started to turn into Snowflake University here over the last decade. Loyal sons and daughters and non-binaries and transgender applicants. I want that now in the victory march. Be all inclusive.
How about
be all inclusive?
All right. Why don't you just go while her loyal students go on to victory?
Be better. It'd be better. It'd be better. Go as generic as possible.
Not new news. It's just
And I want every
crap.
song out there that just talks about women, now you have to include men. I want the opposite of what we're seeing here. I want the opposite. I want the opposite. I want repercussions and ramifications.
It goes both ways.
Finally. Again, because it's Pride Month. Fucking Carolina Panthers, of course, because their nutjob liberal owner, their cheerleading squad, the Top Cats, now will have the first transgender cheerleader.
Of course.
Justine Lindsay will be the first NFL transgender cheerleader. Yippee fucking skippy. Great. Great. So when do you allow a drag queen to become a cheerleader?
Oh, it's coming. Just wait. Wait for it. Wait for it.
We are such a fucked up society. We are so fucked up, it's ridiculous.
The rest of the world laughs at us.
They do. They laugh at us because we are a bunch of idiots, and we became that way over the last 20 fucking years. No, 30. I'm going to go back to the idiot woman who spilled hot coffee on herself at the drive-in at McDonald's.
Boom! There you go.
The moment we became the United States of stupid.
The coffee in the crotch and
24-hour
news cycle.
And OJ. Check out the weekend edition. Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Stitcher! That's Dave. I'm Kev.
Peace out.
We'll check you out next week.